Well, Arsenal's immediate focus is the Champions League. And tomorrow night's quarter-final first leg against Real Madrid at the Emirates. Gary Cottrell is there for us, and we can join him now. Gary, it doesn't look like Arsenal are going to win the Premier League. So how much is at stake against Madrid?
This is what we want, said Mikel Arteta a little bit earlier today. This is where we want to be, the business end of the season, a beautiful part of the season, Mikel Arteta calls it. The sun is shining here at the Emirates, and it gets big, doesn't it now, because a quarter-final of the Champions League, the kings of the Champions League, Real Madrid, the visitors. Mikel Arteta says that this group of players need to create their own piece of history. He says they're mentally stronger as a result of getting this far last season, going out in the quarter-final. And there was a real buzz about the place at the training ground when we saw some training a couple of hours ago. Smiles on the players' faces, a bit of larking around during the warm-up. They looked very confident, I have to say, because you're right, this is their last chance, realistically speaking, of some silverware this season. And what silverware? And Mikel Arteta wants the fans to play their part. He's calling on the fans to arrive early, to be in the stadium, packing out the stadium, even as the players are warming up, just to let the opposition know that they've got a match on their hands. And I put it to Mikel Arteta that with everything he's done in football as a player and as a manager was tomorrow night his biggest night so far in the dugout, and he agreed. Is it one of the biggest nights, if not the biggest night in management for you personally?
100%. I mean, it's a joy to prepare the game, to look at them, just to look at the reaction of people and how we feel about ourselves coming to a game of that magnitude, the excitement around the club, the people. This is the stage that we want to be, where Arsenal has to be consistently. And we are very proud to be there and now be very ready tomorrow to deliver.
Of course, the question is, Gary, who's going to replace Gabriel? Did he give any hints?
Well, Arsenal actually fairly well set in terms of injuries, given the injuries that they've had all season. I would have thought that you would say that 9 of the 11 that Mikel Arteta would like to start, if everyone was fit, could well start tomorrow night. Of course, you're right, Gabriel is the big miss. Of course, still out as well is Kai Havertz. And we had a few clues potentially, I think, from his selection at Goodison Park on Saturday and from what we saw in the opening moments of training a little bit early on today, because Ben White, who is one of those who could be in line to partner Saliba in central defence, was very heavily strapped on that troublesome left knee that he's got. Kivior, of course, started there at Goodison Park, was man of the match, put in a really good performance, but perhaps Real Madrid's quality, with all fairness to Everton, is a little bit different, particularly up front, and so perhaps he might go for the quality of Jurrien Timber in there. Of course, Jurrien Timber or Ben White can also start on the right-hand side of defence as well. So he has got a bit of a puddle, which he's very, very happy to deal with. We asked him whether or not he knew what his defence was going to be tomorrow night. He said yes, he did, so he's made that decision. We asked him if he would tell us. And of course he said no, he wouldn't. What we do think, though, is that Bukayo Saka, who was, as you saw, the player speaking at the news conference, who's been racing to get back, particularly for these 2 games against Real Madrid, 3 months out. He was putting pressure, he says, on the medical staff to get him ready for Real Madrid. He's had a couple of minutes, hasn't he? He's had some minutes against Fulham, a rousing welcome back by the fans here last week, and then he had 45 minutes at Goodison. So he says, of course, you can't lie to nature. He hasn't got the minutes in his leg that he would like, but he gave off the air today of somebody I think is going to start here tomorrow night and how important he could be.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I know we're going to hear from Carlo Ancelotti in the next hour, but what sort of shape are Real Madrid in?
Well, not the best shape at all at the moment. Of course, they struggled quite a lot, didn't they, in the early stages of this competition. Had a bit of luck along the way as well. I put that to Mikel Arteta, that really Arsenal in all competitions this season haven't had a lot of luck. And he said, yeah, well, we're due some. But they've got those 4 important players back. We found that out, didn't we, at the end of last week? The ones that were facing a little bit of discipline, potentially even a ban because of the misdemeanours at the end of that penalty shootout against Atletico Madrid. But they did lose to lowly Valencia at the weekend. Jude Bellingham went on social media and said that just isn't good enough and we need to be better on Tuesday night. So that'll give Arsenal a little bit to talk about in the pre-match meeting. It'll give Carlo Ancelotti a little bit to think about. But of course, Carlo Ancelotti is the king of the Champions League. Real Madrid are the kings of the Champions League. But I do fancy Arsenal, you know, with that home record they've got here in the Champions League, particularly over the last couple of seasons, to give Real Madrid a bit of a fright. They're going to need to if they want to take something back to Madrid next week.